Townsend and Benny Daniels. All right. First question. All right, again, you'll have 2 minutes to answer each question. The first order will be Mr. Watts, then Mr. Townsend, then Mr. Daniels. Mr. Watts, the question is directed to you. How do you feel about allowing multifamily housing in Rockwall?
Multifamily housing is important because it allows people who do not have the ability to buy a house the ability to live somewhere until they can afford to buy a house. Multifamily housing would also help employees of a lot of our retail businesses because many retail workers do not make enough money to live in a house yet. It's a good opportunity as a starting place for young families to start out. Allows them a place to start building their family and save money until they can't afford a house. So I think multifamily housing is very important.
I think multifamily housing has its place. I think we have to be careful where we place it in Rockwall. We've built a infrastructure and a system in Rockwall that we have a high standard of living. So we have to be cautious where we place it. I don't think it has to be ruled out. I think we do have to be cautious in how we place it. I think there's a place for everything. I think we have to seek out those places and how they will best benefit Rockwall and how they best benefit us as we move forward.
Can I just do ditto?
Everybody would appreciate it.
I don't think you can just categorically rule out multifamily housing. There is a place for it. I think it needs to be studied. Just to say yes or no here tonight would be a disservice to either group that might have one opinion or the other. So I would want to know the specifics, leaving it open, leaving it on the table, see where the need is, how it can be placed in Rockwall without being a detriment to one group of citizens, but yet it would be positive for another group of citizens.
Question 2, this will be directed to Mr. Daniels first, then Mr. Watts, then Mr. Townsend. Mr. Daniels, name at least 2 ways you would deal with a budget deficit.
Can
Sir.
you move their mics a little closer?
In summary, revenues and expenses. That's 2 things you look at. Where are your revenues? How will you increase your revenues? I know taxation is not the most favored of anyone, but when there are increased costs, you've cut costs as far as you can, then the only way you can turn is to additional revenues. And I think that would be a job of the city council that we would be charged with finding those innovative ways to increase revenues to match expenditures without being a considerable and more burden on our citizens.
Mr. Watts, again, name at least 2 ways you would deal with a budget deficit.
Well, nobody likes to hear the word taxes, and I'm not going to be the first one to say raise taxes. There are other ways to solve a budget crisis. First, we need to look at the budget itself, see where any cuts can be made. Look at our revenue sources to see if those revenue sources are generating the kinds of money we would like to have generated. We can also look at joint ventures with other companies here in town on ways that we can increase business, because business will bring in revenue. If we increase business, and I believe in a business-friendly climate, we should be able to generate more revenue to stimulate our revenue sources, I guess. But the 2 things I would see at first would be see what we can cut in the budget and then find places where we can stimulate revenue growth. I think revenue growth is the best way to help aid a deficit or bring about a reduction in the amount of money that we're spending. I do not feel that raising taxes is needed ever, unless it's the last resort. We have to find ways to stimulate business, grow our businesses, especially for small, medium-sized businesses here at Rockwall.
Mr. Thompson?
There's an old story that says the best way to get out of a hole is to stop digging. And I think from the standpoint of dealing with your budget and your deficits, I think that first you have to look at that. You can't keep going out and spending more than you have. You have to control that. There are going to be some expenditures that we have to step out and do, and I don't doubt that. But I think we have to make wise choices on that. On top of that, I think we also, if Benny wouldn't have said it, I would have used ditto. But we have to reach out to those around us and seek out partnerships. I think some of the ways we can deal with creating revenue is by seeking those partnerships with businesses, other entities that want to get involved in our area. Rockwall is geographically ideally placed to, in my opinion, be the gateway to the Metroplex, the gateway to North Texas, and we can bring people in that will want to stay here. And if we build businesses here, they'll increase our revenue. If we can continue to seek ways to draw more families here, that will increase our revenue. And we keep drawing people and we stop overspending and spending in proper manners to strategically plan us for the future. And I think our deficit will take care of itself.
Now, we'll have 1 minute summation. It will be Mr. Townsend, then Mr. Daniels, then Mr. Watts. Mr. Townsend.
I've lived in Rockwall for around 15 years. I've got a family here. I've got a daughter that will be a senior next year and a son that will be in kindergarten. They'll keep me very busy. But at the same time, because I've got that widespread, I look at Rockwall and say that this is home. And we want to stay here. We've enjoyed living here. And we want to continue to make it better. I think there's several opportunities that we can jump out and take advantage of from the city council.
All right, just a second. Go.
Am I bobbing? No.
No, you're doing it. Okay, yeah, go ahead. I just want to hear it all.
I think there's several opportunities we can take advantage of in seeking those partnerships, in advancing our agendas. Our current city council has done a fantastic job of starting to plan for long term. I work as a strategic planner for long-term initiatives at AT&T, and I want to bring that same focus and vision to city council. And that's what I'll do if I'm elected, and that's what I want to do for Rockwall. Thank you very much.
Tell you what, when I think of Mike Townsend, I'm going to think of dun dun. All right.
Play his favorite song, you gotta admit, right?
Ms. Daniels.
They won't give up, but that's all right, they'll do it.
Why don't All right, Mr. Daniels.
We ready? Okay. Well, thank you to the Rockwall County Republican Women for having us here tonight, and thank you and the audience for being here. Summation. You've heard so far all the candidates say practically the same thing. We want to improve on the good that's been done. We want to continue to build on that. We want to improve safety, police protection, fire protection, emergency protection. We want to continue to increase our work on roads and streets. We want a better community. We want better access to the council. We want all this with no increase in taxes. That's pretty much what everybody's on board with, and that's good. Ultimately, and I say this in a positive way, ultimately you will need to choose the person that you think will do the best job of representing you day in and day out, and that has the interest of the Rockwall citizens, the Rockwall community at heart, no matter what the subject is. Even no matter what that person's individual opinion might be, is what is best for Rockwall. I think my experience in managing a farm as a teenager for 20 plus years with the federal government and dealing with large budgets, large administrative actions, 22 years as a business owner, that I can bring those qualities that will provide the leadership that Rockwall Council needs. Thank you.
Well, I could say ditto as well, because I think we all want about the same thing. If you want to know more about me, please look at my website, billwatts.biz, and you will find out a lot more about me than I can have time for right at this present time. If I'm elected, I'll do 4 things. I'll work with the mayor and the council members to carry out the city's strategic plan that was approved last year without increasing any more debt. I'll seek citizen input for real-world solutions and review the city's citizen survey results to aid my understanding of what the citizens of Rockwall asked for in their last survey. I'll be a good steward of your tax dollars. I'll work within the city's revenue, just like we all do at home in our home budgets. I'll work with the mayor and the council members to make Rockwall a very business-friendly community. We want this community to stay small. That's one of the things I love about it, is it's a small community. And I'll work to help keep it small, but yet grow. Thank you.